Ricky here with Breaking Your Barriers, hanging out with local heroes. And today's local hero is a fellow actor, a fellow actress, rather. She is also an amazing ESL teacher. She teaches not only English as a second language, she's also a tutor. She's an amazing mother who homeschools her son. And she's going to be talking about overcoming amazingly ridiculous obstacles and how she overcame them and how you will be able to overcome your own challenges. Her story is going to be inspiring. It's going to pull on your heartstrings, but it's most importantly going to give you hope. No matter who you are, listen to this fantastic individual's story. She's today's local hero on Breaking Your Barriers. It's amazing to welcome you, Ebony Glass.
Thank you so much for having me. It really is my pleasure to be here. And even though I work from home for years as an ESL teacher, the way we get paid and just that whole pay structure just wasn't as stable as I needed it to be.
Yeah.
And I really needed to take time to really recover. Like I had major surgery.
Ooh.
And I was afraid to take time off work. So I was like, well, let me create some type of business idea. And I had a few ideas in mind. I'm like, let me just go for it. While working on another idea, I realized the struggle that I was having is finding like nude underwear for brown skin or dark brown skin.
You're working
Yeah,
on
mynudeShade.com. Yeah,
J.com.
it's
Yeah. Can't wait to
yeah,
hear about
yeah, that is in short is to help really it's for everyone, but
that. Everyone, yeah.
specifically to help people of color find their shade of nude, whether it be lip color, foundation, tights, underwear, nail polish, and stuff like that. So because it matters to us when it matters to us, and
Right.
it's it's how can I say it's improving, especially when it comes to the fashion industry, and they are making more brown varieties of brown for us. Um, there are there's so many varieties of brown, and then there's
Uh-huh.
brown yellow, and there's brown pink, and there's brown neutral,
Right.
and because if they can make beige, they can make brown. So my goal is to actually make that easier, but I'm learning that a lot of the companies that I'm trying to work with are still quite young themselves.
Gotcha.
Some of them have started 6 years ago and 5 years ago, and maybe even 8 years ago. That's still quite young in the
Oh
world of
yeah.
business, especially in America when there are a lot of businesses that happen to be owned by non-people of color and that have been around for decades
That's right.
and almost centuries.
That's right.
So thinking about companies like Johnson and Johnson and Gerber, and they've been around for a century
Forever.
at least. Yeah, forever. So Um, so I'm trying to make that easier, and then eventually, God willing, as a designer, because I did study fashion design and fashion merchandising, I
Mhm.
plan on creating my own apparel, and so it's but it was still tedious to find brands, and I would find very few, and then when I started this brand, I started finding more brands because I guess I have to thank Instagram's algorithm because it started recognizing what I was searching for,
Yeah.
and then it started showing me more companies that had what I was searching for.
Right.
But not every person can do that or will see that. Especially if you're the average person, you go on Instagram, you watch videos for fun, you might look for nude underwear, and then it's going to show you everything you're watching, everything you're looking for. Um, so that's my
Well,
thing.
you're definitely going to be a solution for a lot of people who are going to be looking for that same thing, especially, I mean, not only in the acting world, but in everything, in every aspect of our life. Like you said, I want to have this thing. I want to make sure not to stand out too much. I want to make
hmm
sure that nothing sticks out of my clothes, that it's going to be
It's going to, yeah,
overtly
it'll
obvious,
reveal.
revealing.
Again, like the bright pink and green days of the week underwear is cute, but you're going to see that. And I feel like some of us, I at least say myself included, not to be too revealing or
Yeah.
TMI, but it's like, I feel like as an adult, that's cute if I'm just walking to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That's cute if I'm just walking around the house. Or if I'm wearing something colorful, but when I want to look, clean and neat and wear a nice suit or a nice dress, and especially if it happens to be white or beige,
Yeah.
I bright pink is not gonna cut it.
No.
You're gonna see that. I easily take on too much.
Gotcha.
That's just always been my thing. So I'm trying to, like I said, I think I told you this yesterday, but where I want to have my business set up to where it's a weld oil machine that if there's any reason that I need to take off and I have a team that's working for me, I should be able to take off. It was just so hard. And that's why I'm like adamant about working from home and adamant about also being available to my son and adamant about creating my schedule so that when life happens, I don't have to live in fear of being fired
That's right.
or not making enough. No person should really have to go through that, especially if we're working to live. That makes no sense. So
I'm literally at a loss for words because I'm literally in awe of all that you do, because knowing who you are and seeing the positivity that you bring, especially after having chatted with you yesterday, it's
mhm,
hard for me not to be so respectful as well as in awe of how awesome of a person you are. Like when you shared with us yesterday
mhm,
all the craziness you went through, as
mhm.
well as being this awesome mom for your son. Not only that, you literally shared that story. I'm just going to share a little bit of it.
Oh, sure.
You literally shared that you only had a handful of things when you had to go your own way.
Mhm.
And what's crazy about that is you didn't give up.
No.
Most people would have given up. You didn't.
I will say it is a bit of my personality to where
Mhm.
I've always felt like I just can't give up. I can't let something go, even if I wanted to. It's always like this thing that drives me. It could be the possible ADHD symptoms that I have that have been undiagnosed, but it also has worked in my favor because it's like I can always like being a very imaginative person,
Yeah.
very creative. I can I mean, not to brag, but I feel like I've always been talented with creativity, even if I went into a different field. Um, but I can always like see the idea, the goal, if I wanted to build a statue, I have that in mind already. I don't know how I'm going to build it, but I somehow get it done. And sometimes it's this drive to keep going, and then there's prayer and hearing that keep going, and then seeing other people who have kept going. And um my late mother will always point out people who kept going,
Yeah.
and she was a person who kept going. So it's like that's all I know.
Yeah.
And even in moments where like she struggled with, some of her health issues and even substance abuse issues and mental health issues, but she kept going. And she purposely, intentionally got help when she realized she had an issue. So
Mhm.
that helps me keep going. That when if I ever have any type of struggle, I keep going. I get help. And one of the things that I will at least say that I had to learn the difference between myself when I was married to now. I've
Mhm.
been apart from my ex for 3 years, but we officially divorced last year. I had to learn to ask for help. This I don't mind being independent, but independent still has this little asterisk next to it.
That's right.
And there's only so much of independent I can do. I can cook for myself, I can clean for myself, basic human, survival things I can do. But sometimes life gets hard and I get tired or I'm in pain, and I have learned to actually ask for help. I have prayed for help and it has came. I have asked for help, and then once I realize that help is there, I take it instead of being like, "Oh, no, I don't want to be a bother. I don't no,
Right.
I'm gonna be a bother either way. I'm either going to
Right.
complain about what I'm going through, or I'm going to complain what I'm going through, but say, hey, I need some help.
Right.
I need some help. I need all the help I can get because I I feel like, especially women of color and particularly Black women, at least growing up, there's always been this thing like we have to struggle before we can succeed. And what I mean by that is like struggle terribly, like Lifetime movie terrible struggling, like. And some women have been through that. Some women have been through like horrible scenarios, but that doesn't mean we have to keep going through that.
Right.
And that's a whole nother like discussion on how we can get out of that, because I judge no person who's going through anything. I
Thank you.
just learned that
Ask and you shall receive.
yes, ask. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the greatest book, yes. And the thing, oh gosh, I'm glad you said that because I live with a lot of shame and embarrassment with the things I was going through on my marriage and even before then, just living this life of shame. For one, for being a chubby, dark-skinned black girl, and it's like an easy target to be bullied. So when you're a bullied person, you like, okay, well, something's wrong with me, so I'm just gonna hide and not ask for help because it's always this expectation of, like black women are strong, but then if you don't look a certain way, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's so weird. I can't really even like explain that so well. Like even like I'm 36 and I'm still trying to understand the double standards and the assumptions about being a black woman, and I'm rejecting a lot of it. I'm rejecting the strong black woman trope where I can deal with anything and handle anything and I don't cry, we suck it up. No, I am soft. I am so soft. I I am not strong. I am weak. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. I I want somebody to cook for me. I want somebody to clean for me. Um and it's not me being lazy because I know I work hard. I've always worked hard.
I love your transparency, girl. Love it.
I I've always worked hard. I wish people were more transparent. But then again, well, I'll only say this, not then again, but some of the people that I've came across in my life, whether I heard them on the internet, whether I've bumped into them at the bus stop,
Yeah.
or at the supermarket, it's like a moment of transparency can save a life. And I feel like a lot of moments of transparency have saved mine. Okay, I'll use my situation with my ex-husband. At least to preface, he's not the villain in my story. He had villainous moments. He had moments where he just didn't get help for his issues. And so when someone doesn't get help for their issues, they're going to bleed on you even though you didn't cut them. And it's going to cause problems. And if you want to take it literally, if someone's bleeding and they don't get it addressed and there's an infection and there's a smell and then things just go wrong.
Yeah.
So I learned that my situation with my ex was already embarrassing. I was scared all the time. I wasn't physically abused, but I was still scared all the time. There was still some type of abuse going on. Actually there was a few. But I feel like that was embarrassing enough. So I might as well, while we had, oh gosh, what happened? We were evicted again, and I say again. Um and I ended up back at my aunt's house. And that was the second time in our marriage we was back at my aunt's house. But I was at my aunt's house, he was at his mom. And I remember sitting on a bed I was sharing with my son. And I'm like, I'm back in the house that I grew up in. Nothing wrong with that, really. Sometimes we have to go back to where it all began.
Yes.
But that was the second time. Embarrassing. Um, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't worry about, because I know a lot of people, I happen to be a Christian, and a lot of people in the Christian community are like, divorce is bad, we shouldn't get a divorce, you should. um but there was so much going on that was bad, and I was scared because I'm like, oh God, like God is going to drop me on my head if I get a divorce because divorce is bad. God hates divorce. And I'm like, God hates everything else I was going through. So I had to, tell my ex, like, I can't do this anymore. After 8 years of the money problems and, the gaslighting and some other things,
Mhm.
I can't do this. I'm already, and so in my brain, I'm like, I'm already embarrassed. So let's just see what happens. So I worked my behind off. My aunt, I love my aunt. I stayed with her for 5 months. When I say with these ESL classes, I worked with I think three companies at the time, three different companies, because you can do that as an independent contractor. They can't tell you who and who not to work for. but I worked my behind off. I had to work so hard because I knew what I didn't want to go back to. And I knew what I wanted because I looked forward to it. It's important, it's imperative to imagine your future. Thank God for it already before you even get it.
Yeah.
And then your actions will start to match up to it. And then it's like it's fuel. Once you realize I'm ready to be on my own, me and my boy need somewhere stable. I don't care. I don't have to have furniture before I get in there. I just need to get in there. And as I told you yesterday, when I moved into my apartment, not the best apartment in the world, but it's perfect. It's exactly what I prayed for. And I'll tell you about that in a second. I moved in here with a few things. I had myself, I had my son. So the two most important, myself and my son. I had a few belongings like, photo albums, my high school yearbook, pictures of my mom, who had already passed away years prior to me moving here. What else? A few dishes and bags of clothes and an air mattress. I had no furniture. Yeah. I barely had towels. I think the night I moved in here, I had to have my friend take me to Walmart, and I got a few more dishes and some towels and something else. Oh, some silverware. When I say I had almost nothing, I had and a pot and a cast iron skillet. That's what I was able to get from Walmart real quick. Wow. And fast forward 3 years later, somehow during the pandemic, my income had increased and then it went down. But it's furnished. Like I just need some decor. I need photos, a plant that might survive. Killed like 2. and I remember having nothing. This place was echoey. The spiders that were living here prior to me were like pissed that like, who is she and why is she here? We've been here the whole time. I had to do some dusting. I had to give life to this little basement apartment, which actually has beautiful lighting. The neighbors are nice. The neighborhood is quiet. It's in a convenient area. I can walk to 2 different grocery stores, the library, some restaurants, and if I needed to, God forbid, I can walk to the hospital. Yeah. It's like I prayed to live over here because also hood school used to be down the street. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go to hood school. It's down the street. And then she moved and I wept. But then I realized I wept. Like I was like, well, why did she move? To save money, because again, when I left my ex, I didn't know what was going to happen. I purposely chose not to have a car. I can legally drive. I have a driver's license. I love to drive when I do drive. But to cut costs down, because I hate car repairs, I purposely didn't have a car. So I'm like, I need to, like, I'm like praying. Like I remember being in my I'm praying every night. I'm writing in my journal my prayers. I'm praying them. I'm saying them. I'm writing them. I'm saying them. I'm writing them. Some of them I might even post on a Post-it note. It's important if you're the praying type.
Yep.
Write your prayers, say your prayers, read your prayers.
Oh, wow.
Say your prayers, write your prayers, read your prayers. I'll say that much.
What was the one thing that you can narrow it down to that kept you going when anybody else could have given up? What was the one thing? I mean, other than your awesome mom?
Yeah. My little boy. So he like is just automatic. Like my son, automatic. But I think the one thing that kept me going, wow. I would say is my faith. And I want to explain that a little bit because again, being a part of the Christian community, I do feel like that's not explained well enough. When it comes to faith, faith is, well, for one, biblically, faith is hope in things unseen. Mm-hmm. I would like to also include that what would build that is some things that are unseen for us, we can still look at it in other people's lives.
Yes.
And I really say that when it comes to my faith, I do feel like God has placed people in my life to help me keep going, to speak like affirming words to me. It really is hard to narrow it down, but I think at least if I can give it an umbrella.
Yes.
My faith. And the fact that, I would say that my faith has played a large part. And it's not a matter of like what I heard in Sunday school when I was little. It's a combination of everything. And it's a combination of me being spiritually aware
Yeah.
that the most supreme being in the universe not only just made me, but really wants to take care of me, and I have to have my hands open. And I do remember praying a prayer that, like, God, my hands are open to receive as well as give, because I know I love to give.
Yes.
But there's always some of us, especially some of the, I know it's the women in my family, sometimes we're like, no, I don't want anything, I don't need anything. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Open your hands, take this. Okay, take it. And so I think a lot of times, I think God has been saying that to me, but I've lived in so much shame where I clammed up, and I couldn't accept what is, and what I need. And so, considering I was already at my lowest of lows, there's nowhere to go but up from where I was. And that's my motto, like my faith, and that there's I can always go up. And so much to the point where if I ever fell back, I'll never be as low as I was. Like, I'm learning to reparent myself and training myself that it's okay to be soft, it's okay to cry as well as laugh. And I think once you learn to allow yourself to cry, you'll laugh better. That I did learn. Once you allow, because it's like the same, almost even facial expressions, almost, except for the frowning. The it's the pulling back of the mouth when you cry. It's the deep inhales and exhales when you cry and laugh. They're about the same. So if you're not allowing yourself to cry, then your laughs, you think they're good, but no, once you learn to cry and be expressive and like, I feel sad and I'm going to allow myself to feel sad. I'm going to allow myself to feel hurt.
Thank you.
And it's not going to be forever. Nothing is forever, and that's okay. Good and bad. But once you learn, like, wow, like my lungs feel lighter after I've cried, I've noticed my laughs got bigger, and oh, another thing, I will tell you this is something to remember. Any moment, no matter how short it is, if it feels like a great moment, slow down, breathe, and acknowledge it.
Celebrate, acknowledge
it. Whether you're right, exactly, like whether you're eating, I don't care if it's something small, you're eating a donut and it seemed like the best donut in the world. Not to say that you gotta chew slowly, but still, like, wow, this is a good moment. Like, don't choke, no, don't choke and die, but those, once you start with something small, then keep building to where you'll realize, hey, wait, all my bills are paid and I still got money in my account.
Thank God.
And just realize that's great. Some people can't say that. Some people have never been able to say that.
Yeah.
And make that, once you realize you haven't been able to say that, make that happen somehow. Or, wow, like I did a whole work shift, or I worked today and my back didn't hurt. If you're still alive, you're still breathing, you still have blood flowing through your brains, you're still conscious, you've survived 100% of the worst days of your life.
Thank you.
And that means whatever it is you're anxious about, for one, anxiety lies to you. Anxiety will say, like, almost make you feel like you're gonna die, and that can be understandable, especially if you face life-threatening situations, or you feel like maybe you've lost a loved one and you feel like you might be next. Which I heard it is common, especially for those who have lost a parent, and especially if you lost a parent of the same gender. And for some reason it makes you think about death just a little bit more. Not that you want to, but just
right,
like, am I next? And that anxiety does happen. But still realize that anxiety doesn't know your future. To the point where the fact that you're alive today is a blessing. You didn't know if you was going to get today or not.
Right.
You didn't know that at all. We could assume. So, and even if change your anxiety, I'm learning that some of us do get confused between excitement and anxiety.
Yes.
It feels the same. Those who may be, what's it called, neurodivergent. And so some of us, it's like, oh, I'm anxious, but I'm like, am I really anxious? Do I think something bad is going to happen? Or am I curious about all the good that might happen? And I'm like, oh, I think I'm pretty curious because I've never done something before. Like I think I have to be on set either Saturday or Sunday for student film. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Such a small tweak.
Yeah, yeah. Like just look at it and be like, I'm excited. I'm curious. And sometimes the curiosity is enough to where it's like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen. And then in that case, if at least if you're going to assume what the future might be like, assume the best.
Our listeners who are going to be listening to this, what message would you like to leave for them?
For one, everything will be all right. Everything will be all right. But still acknowledge your humanness and the fact that you are a human being who needs help, and we're not made or meant to do it all. And even if you feel like you're not doing enough, which sometimes I feel like that, where I can make a list of 20 things I did today and I still feel like it's not enough.
Right.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Even if all you did was brush your teeth today, that is actually enough. Now, if you notice you have some fires in your life that need to be put out, ask for help. Fire departments have a team. Also, I think I said this before, get real bold about your prayers.
Yes.
The one who tells you to ask, get bold with the asking, and then listen and or watch. Some of us are hard of listening, so we have to watch. I'm hard of listening, so a lot of times God has shown me things. So like, this girl don't listen. Let me go ahead. Cutest, what was it? I have my dream car posted on the wall. Cutest car. She want to see this car. It's favorite color. Cutest. And then, it'll start the ball rolling. So I don't force religion on people. It's just, I'm just speaking my truth.
Yes.
But get to know, actually, that would be part of the act of getting to know God for yourself. We human beings, we tend to tank things and say, well, this is what the Bible means, this is what God means. And yes, please read it, but still go to the source. You're unclear about something, go to God. First, before you go to anyone else. Because over time, the truth will be revealed. And at the same time, you'll make peace with the fact that you won't know everything and that you're imperfect, and that's okay. It will always be okay. So I'm circling back to what I just said before. It will always be okay that you don't have this or you're not this. It will always be okay. And it can and will work to your favor because you are yourself. Because that's what God made you to be. So, be courageous and just know that everything is going to be okay, and let yourself cry. So those bullet points, let yourself cry happy tears, sad tears. Just go ahead. Your baby crying too, everybody cry, just cry. You know what I mean? So I understand people have different views on, religion and God, and I understand. Trust me, I get it. But man, you can't tell me that God ain't had nothing to do with that. I don't care. So, so I love to tell people that, because when I pray that prayer, I was in a very deep, sad, hurt place.
Yeah,
I was so scared, and then this. So now I'm like, that's how I know there's nowhere to go but up.
That's right.
There's nowhere to go. Even if a particular prayer isn't answered, whatever yes you get will give birth to other yeses.
That's right.
Because I gained so much, and I've gained new church family, and I've gained new friends since I've been here. I didn't intend for that, but my yeses gave me more yeses. And
God will lead you where you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
He's like, no, we don't want you to be there. I know that's a 2-bedroom, but right here.
Right here. And so technically what I have is a 2-bedroom, or technically a 1-bedroom with a den, you know. But I know at some point I will have to move because my son is getting ever so taller. He's getting bigger, and we, are starting to outgrow this place a little bit. I don't know when, but I do know that I did say that my goal is that if I ever moved out of this apartment, I would be moving into my home. I do want a house. I want to move into my home. And so that's what I'm determined to do. I'm determined to move into my home. Me and my baby is going to have our house.
I'm praying for that I'm praying for that as well, Ebony. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that plus your business, plus everything you're doing in your life, and all I want to do is be a blessing. And having both of us
Ah,
come together,
yes.
we're both blessings to the people listening to us. And really, I thank you, God.
Yes.
I can't say that
Yes. Thank
proudly
God.
enough. Thank you, God, for
Um,
everything you've given me. Thank you for giving
oh
me
yeah.
Ebony today. Thank you for this message.
Hmm.